Hello, I'm Robert, back again. Another story for you. This is about Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old schoolgirl in 1955. I'm just going to start. We've got the gentle deer with us this time to accompany us through the story. So let's go. This is a story about a young black 15-year-old schoolgirl in America, Alabama. The capital city of Alabama is Montgomery. This is where she lived. But before I talk about that young girl, I want to mention Rosa Parks. I read this book, Rosa Parks. It's her. Hope you can see properly. That's Rosa Parks sitting on a bus. I'll tell you about it now. I read this book. It's about her, Rosa Parks, not giving up her seat on the bus to a white person in Montgomery. Segregation was alive and well, unbelievably still in the year 1955. School buses, restaurants, toilets, drinking taps, even churches. It meant just because your skin colour is dark, you can't go into that shop or restaurant or church. Or if you could, you'd have to sit in an area designated for the coloured race. Until I read this book, I did not know that. How ignorant was I? I had no idea that this late in the piece, 1955, a modern democracy such as America would have laws like that. I was born in 1959, only 4 years later in Australia, so more or less during my lifetime, give or take, several years. How laws like that actually exist. What disgusting idiots in power could actually think up such rubbish? Well, in Alabama, Montgomery, they did. The mayor, the politicians, the police chief, that's all they went. The officialdom had those laws. Something a 12-year-old school kid wouldn't go along with, but adults did. Anyway, Rosa Parks refused to shift for a white person on the bus that she was sitting on, because it was designated for white people. She had to sit down the back, but she was going to stay there. The bus driver told her to give up her seat, but she refused. He said, "All right, I'm going to have you arrested." Rosa Parks replied to him, "You may do that." So 2 police did arrest her. She was taken to the police station, fingerprinted, and put in a cell. Other people of Montgomery got involved. Much happened. The end result was Rosa Parks became quite well known, or famous, because ultimately the law was changed and the bus segregation in Alabama, Montgomery, was abolished. She even got a street named after her, Rosa Parks Boulevard, because of her brave stance to stay on the seat of the bus. But as I said at the start, I really want to talk about a 15-year-old schoolgirl. Her name is Claudette Colvin. This is a picture of her. Claudette Colvin, lovely little schoolgirl, lived in Alabama, Montgomery. I'll leave that there. Her name is Claudette Colvin. For Claudette also did not give up her seat for a white person after the bus driver ordered her to do this. Ordered her to. This was also in Montgomery. Claudette Colvin done this though about 9 months before Rosa Parks. But her bravery, her story, was not well known and more or less stayed dormant until many years later. Back in 1955, the 2nd of March, Claudette was on a school bus going home from school. When the situation arose that she was told to give her seat up, she was only 15, remember now, just a 15-year-old schoolgirl. There's a picture. The bus driver was angry because the bus driver told her to give her seat up, but she wouldn't. The bus driver was angry. He drove to a little further to a small bus interchange sort of area where a police car was parked. He told the police the situation. The police came into the bus. Claudette still sitting where the law said she wasn't allowed to. Claudette said she paid her fare and it was her constitutional right to sit there. But the police did not care. Now, can you just imagine this if you can? If you can get your mind around it. These police, 2 full-grown men in uniform, being paid by the state, educated, trained adults. All their equipment, their badges, their police car, their law enforcement training. And this is what they do to protect the citizens of Montgomery. Stand there talking down to a little 15-year-old schoolgirl to get out of that seat simply because her skin happens to be a different shade of colour to theirs. Unbelievable. Claudette refused their demands again. This is what happened. Her school books were knocked off her lap. They kicked her. They grabbed her arm and she was dragged off that bus. 2 adult policemen grabbed this little 15-year-old girl. Claudette was shoved into a police car and handcuffed. One cop sat in the back next to her. Both cops swore at her, called her a nigger, bitch, made rude comments about her body while they were in the car. Handcuffed in the car, then taken to the city jail, locked up until her mum and minister came to bail her out that night. Claudette was convicted of violating the segregation law and assault. She did not assault anyone. There was no assault except what the police done to her. Why Claudette never got the recognition she deserved, as Rosa Parks did, was because Claudette was young. Her skin colour was fairly dark. Also, while the civil rights leaders were considering to use Claudette as a test case against the laws, she was discovered to be pregnant. Apparently the man who got her pregnant was a married man. Anyway, so they discovered she was pregnant, so the leaders backed off. They knew this little black girl, a poor family, and now pregnant. The newspapers, the media would pounce on this to damage her character. Also, the man that got Claudette pregnant was a married man. He was much older too. So Claudette was basically shelved. The civil rights leaders, the black people that were trying to get their things, they didn't really make a mistake. They just knew poor Claudette, she was darker skinned, her hair wasn't as right. so they chose Rosa Parks. So Claudette was basically shelved. 9 months later, Rosa Parks done the same thing, stayed seated. But Rosa Parks was older, married, and had a good job. Her skin was not as dark as Claudette's. Also, her hair was more straight, not sort of fuzzy. So the black elders at the civil rights movement went with Rosa Parks. They thought this would give them the best chance, that the white people may look more kindly towards Rosa Parks. It worked, and the bus segregation was striked out by the courts. So they didn't do nothing wrong, and Rosa Parks was still a hero for staying on the bus. She was older, but Claudette was sort of forgotten, and she never got really any recognition till decades later, until some people started asking questions and bring it up about Claudette, what she done. She done the same thing what Rosa Parks done, only 9 months earlier. But Rosa Parks, I think, I read, like I say, it's in the book, I think Rosa was about 40 years old and, more mature, but she still done a brave thing, and she was still taken off the bus by police. But Claudette was manhandled more brutally. They never really manhandled Rosa Parks like they did Claudette. So that's just another story to show that what goes on in the world and what the officialdom actually let happen. I've got to keep on trying to just tell these stories. They're just history, and they're quite well known to a lot of people. A lot of people don't know them, but I haven't even scratched the surface of what goes on now if I don't start to try to make you understand that it's always the officialdom, the authorities, the politicians, the ones in power, the bureaucrats who bring about these things. It's only the people, when the people protest and kick up for such ridiculous things. So way back then, 1955, you may be sitting there in your lounge room, if anybody's watching this and thinking, oh, yeah, well, that was really bad and you would have said something. Well, don't say that unless, because it's easy for me or you to say something about Claudette and say how terrible it was, but you've got to speak up in your own time. If the police do something, police brutality happens in your own country, your own state, you have to speak up. Even if it's only to a friend, your partner, doesn't matter who. However you speak up, you should speak up against it. It's been said before, about police brutality, of what the governments allow. If you don't condemn it, that means you condone it. And in the state where I live, Victoria, I've seen enough because of this COVID thing, and it really bring it home to me. So I'm speaking up against police brutality the best way I can. I don't know who to tell because the authorities already know these things. So it's just a thing to try to still get your mind around how the ones in power can make such ridiculous laws. I know they didn't burn Claudette at the stake, but the same mentality existed. The police, the thugs, who could grab a little girl like that, 15 years old, and drag her off a bus? You'd have to be some sicko, not a trained police officer. But they did, and that was the main theme there. Most of the police are like that in Alabama, Montgomery, because I read a good bit about it. That doesn't mean every policeman is bad. And I'm going to do a talk on the good police on another video and point out that those police we really got to defend and uphold. Those police are gold, but that's for another video. For the moment, I just want you to reflect on Claudette. Later on in her life, she had many interviews, like in the 70s and stuff, when people started to talk and ask what happened, and she got interviewed on different television shows, and she got recognised later on in her life that she was really the original one that stayed on the bus. Anyway, I'm still just trying to prime your mind and get you to think. So later on, if you keep on watching videos, totally up to you, that when I start to say other stuff, that hopefully you'll be more susceptible to the real terrible goings on now in our time. Okay, so thanks for listening, and that's the end of that video. Bye for now.